Hey guys, how's it going? Brandon here, and today we're talking about fall turnover. But real quick, if you haven't already, make sure you go and watch the thermocline video that I've already done. That's gonna make this video make a little bit more sense. I'll touch on it a little bit here, but if you watch that, you'll get kind of a whole picture of the year and how the summer kind of leads into the fall and how the turnover actually gets started going. So let's get into it. What basically happens, late in the summer, you're getting the thermocline, where basically you get these different layers of warm water and cold water, and they don't mix together. They're basically sitting on top of each other because one is more dense than the other, and they just won't mix together. And because of that, you get a thermocline. You get different levels, so you get the warmer upper layer, and then a cold, under that thermocline, you get a cold layer of water, less dense, no oxygen, nothing lives down there. Which eventually you get the fall turnover. And typically in Oklahoma, that is in the October period. Okay, so in that late summer period, this less dense water is the reason it's sitting up higher than the cold, dense water on the bottom, causing those two to sit on top of each other and not mix. As you get those cooler nights and those water temperatures start to fall, cool off, that water temperature is going to continue to drop. They're going to meet when that water temp and that density level is the same. And when that happens is when you get the fall turnover. And a lot of people you may hear the lake flipped over or turned or mixed. That's what's happening. The bottom layer and the top layer are mixing together. So you're going to see a lot of sediment in the water at this time, almost junk up the lake a little bit. The way I think of it is like a rancher that burns a field to restore the nutrients in the soil. In this case, Mother Nature is restoring the nutrients in the lake by flipping all that matter and stuff that's on the bottom, gets flipped into the water and mixes up. That's why you get a lot of sediment this time of year when you see that turnover, because all that stuff's being mixed together. But it's the way of nature restoring the lake's life and the oxygen level back to a normal, stable amount. This typically lasts, 3 to 5 days, depending on your lake. The water is going to be stained or off looking. Here in Oklahoma, you're typically going to get like it's going to look like a dirty lake or a tea-colored water, just off looking. Your oxygen levels at this point are going to be lower because if you think about it, your top layer that's oxygenated and that bottom layer that had dissolved no oxygen, basically they're mixing together, so your lake for a short amount of time your oxygen levels are going to drop. It's also said that the water can stink because of all that dead matter, the sulfide, the gases that are down there on the bottom that have been kind of decaying are mixed back into the oxygenated water, causing it to have an odor. This is all good, like we said, it's basically nature's way of restoring the oxygen levels throughout the lake. So fishing during the turnover, you're going to have that stained water, that muddy lake almost look. So think about that. Fish, when it's dirty, like we've talked about before, are going to find something to get against, structure, especially when this lake is messed up all throughout. In my experience, they're going to want to be shallower. So look for structure in shallow water, at least start there. Okay, after the turnover, things get a little more difficult. After that sediment has settled down, the lake has kind of got back to its normal color, but now you have oxygen throughout the lake. So fish can really be anywhere. It's kind of like early summer again, where they can kind of go wherever they want. So you got to have to keep an open mind. And my biggest tip for this is just find the bait, because that's their food source. They got to feed up before the winter gets here. So they're going to continue chasing bait fish around. Okay, so some turnover bait options, especially in the fall, regardless of water, is a topwater popper. It allows you to keep that bait in place around structure and dirty water. They can hear it, they can find it, and it's just a good bait. They're already thinking about shad and feeding up. So I like to use shad color popper style topwaters and focus on flatter, shallow banks. A jig is always good in dirty water just because you can focus on that structure, depending on the water color, you want darker colors in that darker water. more of the greens and naturals in a clearer conditions. If you can't get bites with that, another option is a shaky head, darker colors, fishing through, especially fishing around grass, it's weedless, kind of work it around rocks, laydowns, that kind of thing. Last but not least is a crankbait. Squirrel crankbait is a big bait in the fall. You want to fish this around wind-blown rocky banks is usually the best time in the fall, because those fish are going to be around those rocks anyways because of this dirtier water, and they're going to be focusing on bait fish to feed up for winter. Okay, so after the turnover, I mean, you can have trouble narrowing this down. You're going to get so many options you can do because, again, the fish can be anywhere. So the water's still warm. You haven't hit that true fall time yet where things are slowing down. Those fish are still active, very, very aggressive this time of year. So again, topwater popper, not only does it work in dirty water, it also works in clean water because it's something, shad, looks like a shad dying on the surface. You can keep it around to lay down and draw those fish in from a long ways away. Another one is a swim bait. Fish this around bait for sure. If you're fishing around grass, I could also say throw one in, a lipless. It's kind of the similar thing. You can control the depth and find the fish. Another one is a spinnerbait. There's so much to a spinnerbait. I'm not going to go into detail there, but in this early fall, you still want to move a spinnerbait pretty quick, depending on water clarity, whites, because it's looking like a bait fish. Throw that thing around laydowns, rocks, anything like along the banks that fish can be holding on. And then again, crankbaits, squarebills, especially if you get those windy days, blowing against that rock, those fish are just going to be feeding up on those shad against that rock. So crankbaits, squarebill crankbaits, up pretty shallow. All right, guys, unless you're fishing every day, you're probably not going to run into the fall turnover, but it's something that's out there and something you need to be aware of in case you do. And if you want to find out more about bass behavior, make sure you check out some of my other videos. And as always, thanks for watching.